you are into movies and movie-related discussions, you can come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz! And programming note as of right now, I know this review was impromptu. Me and Kim are still doing the review of Once. She just fell under the weather in the past couple of days, so she is resting, trying to feel better, and we're going to do that review as soon as she is up for it. So, Kim, feel better. But we'll get into this review, which is of the original A Star Is Born, starring Janet Gaynor, Fredric March, and Adolphe Menjou, directed by William Wellman. Apparently on IMDb there's like 10 credits for director, but William Wellman is the main one. I don't know what that really means on that. I really wanted to watch the original A Star Is Born. I haven't seen any of the versions of A Star Is Born. No, that's not true, actually, now that I come to think. I did see bits and pieces of the 70s one with Barbra Streisand, and I did not like what I was watching, so I just exited out of that one. But that was a long time ago. That was like when I was really young, so I'll give that a shot. But when the Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper one came out a few years ago, I definitely wanted to see it, but I wanted to see the original first, and I wanted to see the other ones that were before the new one. So there have been 4 versions of A Star Is Born, which is the 37 one that I'm reviewing right now. There is the one in the 50s with Judy Garland, which is considered the best one. There's the Streisand one from the 70s, and then there is the most recent one with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. So I am looking forward to going through all of those at a certain point at some time. So let me get right into the review of A Star Is Born, the 1937 film starring Janet Gaynor and Fredric March, directed by William Wellman. There's a difference in this film than the rest, and the main one is that the other 3 A Star Is Born is about either singer-actresses or just singers, with I think the new one is just Lady Gaga as a singer and not an actress as well. In this one, it's actually a Hollywood drama. It's about a young ingenue who wants to break into the business and gets the attention of an old actor who is big at the time but is on the downturn, played by Fredric March. And that's really the difference between that and I think the rest of them. I'll find out more as I go through the rest of them. But this is a straight Hollywood drama. This is about Hollywood and the price that is paid for people who start and the ones that are on the downturn, what happens to them at that time. And of course, the big twist in the film is that the male actor, Norman Maine, played by Fredric March, is also an alcoholic. And that adds to a certain sort of drama that happens throughout the film. When it comes to Esther, who Janet Gaynor plays, when she starts to move up and become the biggest star in the world. So, yeah, that is kind of the draw here. It's a drama where it's a romance, it's a drama, and it's got a lot of different things going on with it as well throughout the entire film. Another big thing about this film, this won the Oscar for Best Screenplay at the time. I think it was 1937. And it's also the first film that was nominated for Best Picture that was in color. So this is actually an important film in that sense. So I was always wondering why this film kept getting remade. And I guess because it's important in that aspect that a lot of people kind of gravitate towards it. I went into this not knowing what to expect. And in the end, I did enjoy it. But I found a lot of things about this movie a little weird. But I think this is more of those it was the times kind of thing than anything else. For example, when the film goes into the main actor's, Fredric March's character, Norman Maine, when it goes into that character's alcoholism, it's right away that you learn that he's an alcoholic. He's stumbling around, he's causing all sorts of mischief and all sorts of things, and it feels like the film is playing it for laughs a little bit. They're taking it a little seriously because the other characters are kind of like, oh no, he's drunk again. Oh no, he's got a problem. But the film kind of portrays it in a kind of a funny way in a certain extent. So it's kind of weird when the film starts to get a little serious about his alcoholism, because throughout the entirety of the film, it's kind of played for laughs. Not that the characters think it's funny and it's charming, but it's in a way where the film treats it as kind of a gag. Oh, he stumbles and he's not being able to sit down. Oh, he's breaking plates because he's a belligerent. Oh, and he's doing, like, it's kind of weird where the film kind of goes in this. The romance angle is also kind of strangely started. It starts kind of strange, but it kind of works as the time goes on. And the main character, Esther, meets Norman Maine. It's when she's working, and he's quite obviously drunk in this, but she goes with him anyway, and they start a whirlwind romance, even though she is keenly aware he's an alcoholic. When it starts getting to the romance part, where she then decides, like, yes, I want to marry you, but you have to start sober up. You have to do this. It's kind of a little unbelievable, but then again, this is kind of the style of the movies at the time. It's supposed to be a little more happy, not a lot of depth into the characters and anything. So things were tied up real nicely to a certain extent. So, I mean, I'm fine with it to a certain extent, but I just wasn't, like, overly enamored with the romance angle in this. And then as time goes on throughout the film, you see Fredric March's character, Norman Maine, who is the big actor. His time starts to slip, and he starts to lose popularity because of his hijinks, and that his performances haven't been so well. Then Esther's, but she starts to go on the rise to be a bigger deal in Hollywood. It doesn't go into too much depth on either end, but it goes to the constant, like, oh, the man's losing his manliness and his manlyhood because he's not the breadwinner anymore. And they go through that angle, which I know at the time was a big deal when it came to gender dynamics and stuff like that. The film tries to make you feel bad for Norman Maine, and I have a hard time doing that because they don't really portray him as that sympathetic in this. But again, we're talking about a movie from almost 100 years ago. So in that aspect, I get why the way that the character is done is not to my liking. But then on the other hand, I mean, it's a fine performance by Fredric March. He does the character well with the script that he has. I just don't like the character very well. I don't sympathize with him, even though I know he clearly has a problem, and he's trying to get better, and he's just not doing it. What I didn't have an issue with was Janet Gaynor's performance. She's actually really good in this role as the young ingenue Esther in this movie. It's a good performance. She's actually very charming in this, and she's very likable as well. It's interesting to see her fall in love with Fredric March's character, but I had a bit of a hard time believing it. But then again, the character is very star-eyed. She's very precocious. Like, I guess precocious is not the right word. She's from a small town, and she's not been out in the world so much. So she very much is, I guess precocious is the best that I can do in this one. She's not a person that I think would notice that the thing that Norman's going through is basically going to be his downfall at the end. That, I think, is the character in itself, and she plays that character really well. I just didn't believe the romance part in this movie. I thought her performance was very good in this. As for the supporting characters, they're fine. I particularly liked Adolphe Menjou as Oliver Niles in this, the studio head, who happens to be the friend of Norman in this. So he's pretty good in this. I did like his performance in it. And as to the ending, was it really that earned? I don't think so. I didn't really buy the ending of the film very well. It's fine. If you don't know the ending, I won't spoil it. I know I've spoiled a bunch of the film already, but I just came out of it at the end going, okay, I mean, sure. And the way that the film bookends it as like an actual script that you're reading seemed kind of pointless, but I think it was because this was a big technical movie that I think people were being blown away by. I think it's the reason as to why they did that, but I think that's neither here nor there on that. Well, say I watched this on the Roku channel with no commercials. Thank God. I hate commercials for movies. That being said, this movie needs a remaster, or they need to retouch this movie up. I mean, A Star Is Born, the Judy Garland one, and the Barbra Streisand one, and now the new one with Lady Gaga. I mean, they're popular films. People love those films. I don't see why they don't remaster this film as well and re-release it. Because the cut that I saw, or the version that I saw that was on Roku, did not look well. I'm not going to fault the film on that, but it definitely was grainy, lacking a lot of detail. It could have used a remaster, like, definitely for this one. So hopefully someone decides that this is worth that time to do that, but I don't, there might not be, but again, if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with it, but other than that, it was fine, I guess. Like, I just did not like the way the film looked, but I think it was more because the print and the way that it was done was not done with a lot of care. It's grainy in some bad spots. The colors are saturated in weird ways. I mean, again, this is also an older Technicolor film. I don't know what you could do to make it look better, but yeah, I was disappointed with the look of the film, really. Okay, so let's get to my final thoughts on A Star Is Born, the 1937 version. I liked it. I thought that the performance of Janet Gaynor was pretty good. I also like Adolphe Menjou in this. I thought Fredric March was decent, but I just didn't buy the character as charming or as someone that people would like. I know he was going through the alcoholic phase in that, but I think that his alcoholic phase seemed more comedic in tone than it was serious. That might just be the times. They don't want to go into exhaustive detail as to what's going on with him, but I just didn't buy the seriousness of it. I'm going to give this film 3 stars. I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable, and I will look forward to seeing the other versions of this. Again, like Janet Gaynor in this, I thought she was actually very good in this. But if I'm being honest, I'm hoping that the next ones that I see, the Judy Garland one, is a lot better, and I've heard it's actually really good. It's a really good version of it. I'll look forward to that on that end. There are better dramas that deal with this type of subject matter, and I think the remakes will probably do a much better job of this. So I'm going to give this 3 stars. Check it out. It's on Roku, Freevee, and all those stuff, but just beware when you watch it. It's not the best print. Alright guys, well that is it for this review of A Star Is Born, the 1937 film, and that is it for this episode for I Am The Wiz. Again, me and Kim will review once as soon as we can when she is up for it, and then we have a bunch of other reviews coming up, so look forward to that when that comes. But until then, I am The Wiz, and I will talk to you later. Bye.